Welcome to the fourth episode of our roundtable series, Ops in Motion. I'm Kawal, a co-founder at Digital DI Consultant, joined by my co-founder, Shiv Panchagiri. And we are guiding the conversations on how AI is reshaping B2B marketing. It's no longer a futuristic concept, but it's an essential tool for B2B marketing or companies aiming to optimize marketing spend and achieve growth. And in this episode, we are trying to understand the impact of AI on marketing operations, sales operations, and B2B marketing in general. And today we have Aby Varma, who has joined us. He's the founder of Spark Novus, an agency that drives marketing transformation through strategic and responsible AI adoption. And he also serves as CMO at Shapiro Negotiations and is the founder of Marketing AI Pulse community. So happy to have you here, Aby, today. Could you tell us more about yourself and Spark Novus and the Marketing AI Pulse community? Over to you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Firstly, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, happy to give a little bit more detail. So what Spark Novus does is really we work with, marketing leaders and often the C-suite to really help them adopt AI in a strategic and responsible way. And what exactly does that mean? So in a lot of cases, people focus very much on the technology first, and if you're looking at the tools and just the MarTech portion of it, it's very easy to get overwhelmed and distracted because there is so much of it. And so what we do is really attach their AI initiatives to some sort of a strategic North Star, something that will really move the business and add value at the very top of the business level. And so don't really start at the technology level. So how do you discover that, what that is, how do you go about it is what we sort of guide marketing teams to. And as far as the Marketing AI Pulse community is concerned, that's an initiative that we launched about a year ago, and it's been kind of explosive growth, if you will, because there's so much interest in AI, as we all know. And the Marketing AI Pulse community was really started to bring like-minded marketers together who are interested in AI. And we started off with in last August, and we had like 30 people, and we're pushing 600 people now in terms of the size of the community. So it's just been phenomenal to see, and the values of the community are kind of learn, connect, and grow. So we want to make sure that people are learning, they're connecting with each other, and they're growing in their careers or whatever is it that they're seeking. So that's a little bit about the community.
Nice. Thanks for the introduction. I mean, that's a nice initiative. I'm very curious, and I have another question for you. So, how do you see AI fundamentally reshaping marketing strategy in the next 2 to 3 years down the line? We have seen a lot of changes already. How do you foresee, like, what would be the things that you think would actually change? And I mean, we would love to hear that.
Yeah, I think the way I answer that is I think what would not change, which is like really this technology is really foundational and fundamental to the way marketing is going to function in the future. And in a lot of ways is already doing that today. So the way I think about it is in sort of threefold. So one is as a result of AI, it's changing insights, it's changing creativity, and it's changing efficiency, right? So those are sort of the three broad pillars under which I think about it. But honestly, every aspect of marketing is going to be touched in some way, shape, form as a result of this. And it's pretty fascinating to see how people are already dealing with all of these things. And ultimately, I think there's going to be a time where this is just the way marketing is, going to be done. In fact, I was on a call, on a sales call where somebody was pitching me some software, right? And in the pitch, they kept saying that, Abby, this is SaaS software. And they said it like 3 times. And I'm like, it's 2025. If it's not SaaS, what else will it be, right? Like, are you not
Yeah.
shipping me CD-ROMs at this time, right? So,
Yeah.
so in similar fashion, I think we're going to be at a time with AI where I don't think we have to announce to the world that, hey, we're using AI in marketing because that's just the way marketing is going to be done. It's already crept
Yes.
into pretty much all foundational, technologies that we're all using from Outlook to Salesforce and everything in the middle. It's already crept in. So I think it's here to say, but the overarching, what does that mean when it comes to, insights, creativity, and efficiency? That really means allowing marketers to really be more impactful, leverage AI and being more impactful in making sure your company achieves the goals that it set out to do. And whether it's demand generation, whether it's branding, whether it's, personalization, whatever your sort of operational goals are, those are certainly going to be much more achievable and accelerated and creative as a result of it.
Great insights. Abhi, I have a question for you. You kind of spoke about the three folds or the three pillars of AI that's being used, right? So how do you see, or how are you currently using AI to really improve the personalization to a level of improving the customer service experience as well through AI? So what have you seen that's been used, and how do you foresee it in the near future as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So that is, I think, the single biggest opportunity, which is becoming table stakes,
Mhm.
personalization. So
Yeah.
before AI, personalization, everybody understood the concept of personalization. All marketers wanted to do personalization, but the lift of personalization was really hard to do, right? You had to
Yeah.
have a lot of resources, the right kind of technology in order to kind of pull it off correctly, right? So, but now as a result of AI, so in my fictitious example of personalization, if you were targeting three segments, and for every segment you have a web page and an email and some social media copy or whatever. So three channels and three segments, that's nine pieces of content that you got to pull off that that is considered quote unquote personalization. Well, obviously, this is a simplistic example, but you can see that the impact of personalization has a exponential sort of impact on the demands of content. This is layered on top of the fact that you have a good understanding of who you are personalizing for, right? Now with AI, we're seeing that your segments can be a segment of one. It could be unique. It does not need to be predefined by human beings like we are all used to in our databases. You could have AI sort of scan your database, look at behaviors, and kind of make suggestions on what those groups could be, right? And those are kind of unique.
Mhm.
Secondly, making sure that now that you have an understanding of what those segments are and what those groups are, then you can kind of come up with very specific custom messages for that group, unique to where they are in the buyer stage of the buyer journey. So very, very powerful stuff. And then not only that, you have a better understanding of your customers. Obviously, you can write content now as a result of getting that better understanding to serve those customers better. But then also there's an element of time and place. So you want to make
Right.
sure that you now have an understanding, okay, where is the best place for me to reach these people and what's the best time? So something as simple like something we could all do this, like if you, for your listeners, and if you guys haven't tried this, we all post things on LinkedIn. You go to
Right.
LinkedIn, look at your analytics tab, download a CSV, upload that CSV into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT that, hey, based on my historical posting schedule and kind of engagement levels, what's the best time for me to post my content? Very simple,
Mhm.
achievable in 5 minutes, and you'll see that LinkedIn will make recommendations. And then you say, hey, now can you correlate the type of content that I post to the time that I posted and give me more insight? So in a very simplistic way,
Yes.
obviously very simplistic example, but it's extend this to kind of an enterprise situation and it can get really powerful. And there's lots of technologies already out there that will help you
Mm.
kind of do some of these things. Yeah. I mean, one of the key things that I feel this is all hinges on obviously the personalization hinges on data quality, right? So to me,
Right.
that is sort of a key aspect of it. So let me ask you one thing, Shiv. Like you guys do data enrichment for CRMs, right? Surely AI, we're seeing AI is making a lot of impact in that area, but what are you guys seeing?
That's a good one now. Now, as you would know, AI in CRM database management is being utilized to automate what was previously considered as manual work or error-prone tasks, right? Such as cleaning up existing database, filling up the missing firmographic details like the phone numbers, the email addresses, standardizing the job titles, or even taking care of duplicates. With AI in picture, this ultimately creates more accurate and comprehensive customer profiles. So let me explain you with a detailed breakdown of how automated data cleaning and enrichment kind of takes care with three main tasks. One is error correction. Now, what AI is essentially doing is it can identify and correct the existing data, such as incorrect email addresses or the outdated phone numbers. Number two, it can help you in enhancing the missing data completion. Let's say you have missing telephone numbers or email addresses or job titles or social media profiles like the LinkedIn can add those missing data fields for you. And the third one is data standardization. What AI can essentially do is it can standardize the data formats, ensuring there's a consistency across the CRM. Historically, about 70 to 80% of the data issues were around these three segments, be it error or missing data or the data standardization. So AI is really changing the game with the CRM database management. Now, here's another thing that we have seen in the recent past is if a lead, let's say, if a lead enters with just a name, an email into a CRM, what AI would do is it would the other details that you would need could be firmographic or demographic details, or could be like company details or the industry name of the industry, or could be the LinkedIn profile. It can even estimate the company size with in terms of employee size and the revenue size details of the organization within seconds or within no time, and helps you build a complete profile without really relying on form fields or sales reps to fill in the blanks, which is a game changer in a way wherein you really do not have to depend on anybody, and you have the details at your fingertips. It also
Yeah.
validates the data regularly, which is very important. In fact, as we all know, data goes bad at a rate of anywhere between 20% to 50% because of various reasons, like people keep changing jobs, or companies go out of business, or there is merger and acquisition. Keeping the database up to date is very important, wherein the database going bad at a very alarming rate. And that's where AI is again being a big game changer, right? Wherein it helps you to keep the database clean throughout the year, and you can really use it the way you would want for your marketing, sales, or customer program that would eventually help you to get you where your organization would want. So that's the thing that
Yeah.
we have seen in the recent past, where AI has been a big game changer for the marketing, sales, customer service, and even for the leadership teams.
And I mean, data quality is sort of the linchpin for successful campaigns in a lot of ways, right?
100%. And these are some of the things that can be automated. Till about 5 or 8 years, there was a lot of manual intervention. You had to have people taking care of stuff, and it was time consuming as well. But thanks to AI, it's been a big game changer.
Right.
Uh,
Thank you for sharing that.
so on the same note, I have a question for Kawal. Kawal was keen to understand how AI tools helping you reduce your bottlenecks in campaign operations.
Sure. That's a good question. As we also started thinking about AI, use of AI in our day-to-day life, we are seeing that AI is starting to play an impactful role in reducing those bottlenecks that used to have in campaign operations, right? So it's not just taking care or helping us in content or targeting lists, but it's also being part of integrations to execution, so which is really nice. Now, here are some of the things I think most of us are taking advantage of AI in our day-to-day life. Number one would be faster campaign content creation. So AI is saving us a lot of time by creating the initial draft of email, landing page copy, and then suggesting us subject lines and even images. So these creatives are being taken care, which helps in reducing the campaign delay, launch delay if there is has to be, right. So it's
Mhm.
taking care of those time sensitive campaigns, and it's giving us a starting point, an initial draft to build on. So that's really nice. Earlier, it used to be like everyone, the person who is taking care of this campaign has to spend a lot of time in understanding, creating those initial draft, and there's to be a lot of iterations. But AI is giving us those, so that's really been cool. And the second one is segmentation and audience or QA. So AI is helping us in validating and clean up those audience lists. Now it's also helping us in out highlighting the incomplete records, duplicate records, and it's highlighting the list logics, like if there is missing suppression list, or reviewing the nurture list to remove contacts who should not be part of those nurture campaigns. Now this helps us in validating the enrichment fields before the campaign launch, which is really good because the target audience is really important for a campaign launch and for a campaign to be successful. Now, personalization is also very important. I think we spoke about it before 5 minutes, right? So personalization help us to require or tailor the message according to personas or industries or verticals. Now, AI is generating those dynamic content blocks that adapts based on the firmographic or behavioral logics. Now, this saves our time in cloning those campaigns number of time and then launching them. So we can create one initial draft, and we would, prompt AI to create those different variations, and AI would take care of that. So it's useful for ABM and nurture flows again. The fourth one is the workflow QA and logic suggestions. So some of the flows or the tools are using AI to review automations and suggest if there are any missing conditions, or if we have any broken triggers that is being highlighted by AI, or if there's any conflict before the campaign is launched or the workflow is active. So this has reduced a QA time and also has taken care of human errors, which is good because we are away from the manual work that we used to do earlier. Now, integration monitoring and sync. So integration is often causing some sync issues between the tools, like some of the lead details or some of the fields that are not syncing from one tool to another. So using AI-driven monitoring help us to catch those sync errors, field mismatches, or API failures before they affect any live campaign, which is again useful because otherwise sitting down and looking at each and every detail is really time crucial. And our real-time data sync. The AI entries incomplete records by pulling in firmographic data or job titles or social link without having to create those gated forms. So earlier we used to create gated forms for most of the activities to track more and more information. But then AI is helping us keeping that short and we don't have to have gated form everywhere. That used to be annoying for most of us, but we had to do that. So after the campaign is launched, we have reporting and insights. So AI tool help us in summarizing the performances. It's highlighting the key trends and audiences drop off if there are any or any conversion blockers. So that means we can review them and make changes without having to spend hours on connecting those spreadsheets, connecting different tools, and spending hours on reports and dashboard, which is really a relief. Now, I would say like AI isn't replacing humans in marketing operation, but it is helping us to move faster, reduce error, focus on strategizing things. The less time we spend on a cleanup and manual QA, the more time we have to optimize what we actually are doing, and that helps drive better pipeline. So, having said that, we spoke a lot about how important AI is in our day-to-day life. And Aby, you being the founder of Spark Novus, an agency that is driving marketing transformation from strategic and responsible AI adoption, I have a question for you. So,
Please.
how do you vet or evaluate AI vendors or tool before adoption? Do you have any suggestions of best practices? Because it's really important. Once you're adopting something, you have to make sure that things are working fine. Again, if it's not, I mean, that's again a dead end, right? Over to you, Aby.
Yeah, no, great question. I think first off, I always advise teams to look inwards in terms of establishing what the business need is for that, right? So, like I said at the top of the show, teams often just dive in headfirst and start with technology. And I recommend not to do that, as sort of counterintuitive as it may seem, right? So my first advice, and it's not uncommon for us, we'll do workshops and we'll come up with use cases and everything when we are working with marketing leaders, and we'll discover 40, 50 use cases in a half a day workshop. Like they're excited about it and everything. Well, that's a lot, right? Like for each use case, you can have the top 3 to 5 technologies that are there because the MarTech space is exploding, as we all know. The first sort of idea is look inwards and do some prioritization and focus on those tools and technologies that are adding business value and that are aligned to your business goals. Not saying that the other use cases are not important, but it is relative importance,
Yeah.
right? An example is one of our clients did they were thinking of AI as a use case for kind of retagging all the millions of assets that they had in their digital asset management system. Great use case, tailor-made for AI in a way, in a lot of ways. Another example was they were entering a new market and they wanted AI to do some pipeline development, cold outreach, and those sort of things, right? Another great use case. But I can tell you, in terms of business value, when they were having internal discussions, which is the one that got funding, is the second one, right? Not that the first
Yeah.
one was not important, but in terms of relative importance, the second one was going to add business value, was going to, impact sales and those sort of things. So I think have some sort of an internal cycle to determine what's the technology, and then aligning your technology choices or use case choices to things that add business value. All right, so that's step one. Then after you've done that, then it comes to deciding the right technology, picking the right vendor, and those sort of things, right? And that is super super important and very difficult these days in so many different ways, right? Because
Mhm,
there is a lot of quote unquote AI washing that is happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
mhm,
where with these technology providers, because people are just throwing in, yes,
Mm.
AI powered, and when you actually start understanding it, there's
Yes.
one minor feature which has almost
Yeah.
nothing to do with the overall functionality of the tool. There's some AI they've checked a box somewhere that AI is being used. So my first sort of best practice is, regardless of whatever the tool is, I always advise that, hey, you gotta try it and prove it before you scale it. So if you have a marketing team of 20 people, 30 people, whatever, a big marketing team, then before you commit to that piece of technology to the whole team, make sure that you are able to experiment, try it, and prove the value in a short period of time with a smaller team. Do a 1 month pilot and try it out. And if it succeeds, great, scale. If it doesn't succeed and that pilot failed, great, move on. So my only advice is fail fast so you have an
Mhm.
understanding,
Yeah.
what the technology does do or does not do. So that is sort of key. The second thing is sort of transparency, making sure you are evaluating the transparency from the vendor standpoint, right? So all vendors talk about publicly is the value of the AI, but how is the data being used? What are the outcomes being
Mm.
generated? How is data handling happening behind the scenes? Is not going to be in their marketing materials. That is going to be in their MSA legal language fine print, right? So make
Yes.
sure that you're involving your legal people and getting an understanding of how are they using your data? How have they trained AI? What sort of protocols they have in place from a security and safety standpoint. So super critical, like SOC 2 compliance and all those things for bigger enterprise companies. So super important to really evaluate the vendor and really take time to look at the fine print. And marketers should not do this alone, should work alongside IT and legal and compliance folks within your organizations to certainly do that. But the third thing is the, human in the loop. So to me, I think the buck stops with human beings. And
Mhm.
I think we all know AI hallucinates and makes things up, and there's bias and all those sort of
Yes.
things. So make sure that whatever is the outcome of the tool that you're using, that there is a very good understanding of how AI is making decisions and what is the output, and the fact that you have control where humans can change the output, right?
Mm.
So there have been times when we've come across technologies where it's sort of it's a black box, right? You
Yeah.
put stuff in, you get the AI output, and then, it gets pushed out live or whatever, and there's no control for humans to be in the loop and override the AI outcome. So that to me is definitely a red flag. And then more importantly, getting an understanding of how is AI making those decisions. For example, we're looking at some paid media technologies where AI is making a decision on, how much money to move from Google to
Mm.
Meta, for example, or within a campaign in a certain platform. Well, you got to make sure that you have a very firm understanding of how AI is making those decisions, right? So that, and then finally, I would say, kind of two things. Obviously, insights, making sure that whatever is the tool of choice, it'll give you analytics and KPIs on how AI is moving the needle on the expected impact. So,
Yes.
for example, content is a low-hanging fruit for a lot of marketing
Yeah.
teams where they want AI to generate more content. Well, more content is not the KPI. More content is just the outcome. So it's like,
Yes.
what is the impact of that content? Are you getting, is it more SEO optimized? So you're getting more organic traffic? Although we could do an entirely new episode of the impact of AI on SEO, and then like lead generation. So if you have content that is being created, so identify the impact, not just the activity of what the AI is
Yeah.
going to do, and make sure you have KPIs to track that, right? Otherwise, you will be tracking only tactical things. And then, like, finally, if you zoom out, making sure that whatever is your technology fits into your overall tech stack ecosystem, right? So there isn't, in the world of MarTech, if you guys follow Scott Brinker's, MarTech,
Yes, I do. Yeah.
yeah, volume. There's so many pieces. There's like 13, 15,000. I don't remember
Yeah.
the last
Mm.
number he
Mm.
had. The report that came out in May. There's like crazy volume of MarTech
Right.
technologies
Yeah.
out there. So gone are the days where all your MarTech is going to fit in neatly in boxes and there's no overlap. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
overlap. So
Right.
so I think marketing teams that strive for clean overlap, that, hey, I'm going to use this tech for this function and that tech for that function, and there's not going to be an overlap. I think that's a slippery slope. I wouldn't kind of waste time, but what I would do is make sure the right tool for the right purpose and have internal governance rules that, hey, we're going to use tool A to do this, and we're going to use tool B to do something else, even though tool B there may be a little bit of overlap with tool A, but tool B is the main tool. That's the bread and butter of that functionality. So making sure that you have an understanding of what that looks like. And AI in a lot of ways is changing that as well, because the lines are blurring because it's not so much like linear anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the world of AI is sort of getting
Yes.
blurry, and those lines are getting blurry. I know that was a lot, but I wanted to share how we approach it. Yeah.
Love that, Avi. I mean, the three takeaways from me, at least from the last thing that you just explained, was one is fail fast. I think it's very important to fail fast and recover and get moving. The second one was try it to prove it to scale it. Very well said. I mean, that's where many of the organizations or team kind of fumble. And the third and the most important was the buck stops at human beings. You would
Yeah.
want to know what
Absolutely.
kind of KPIs, what kind of things you would want the AI to do. AI doing whatever it's doing is one aspect, but you having the control over it. The example that you gave, right? I know what kind of budgeting you would want to shift from, let's say, Meta to the Google and the other ones, right? So you having control over it is an important aspect.
Yeah.
Amazing, Avi. I mean, great having you. We are wrapping up another insightful episode of Roundtable Ops in Motion. In this one, we explored the evolving role of AI in B2B marketing, from strategic planning to hyper personalization to CRM database management, and then, of course, the marketing automation part of AI. It's clear that AI is no longer a future concept, but it's an actively shaping how we operate today. Thank you, Abhi, for your time. We had a great time chatting with you. And of course, thank you, Kawal, for your time.
No,
Thanks,
thank you
Abby.
guys
Thanks, Shiv.
for having me. Thank you. All right. Have a good
Thank
one,
you.
guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.